What's going on, everybody? So it's the American Bro. As we know, I've made my uploads about political affiliations, and because I'm going to skip independents because they are a very diverse group and you kind of have to take each one as they come. Because there are independents that have completely different viewpoints than anything in American politics, and there are some that, you know what, yeah, they probably are right-leaning and they're probably Republicans, but don't want to admit it. Then you got the ones that are progressives or Democrat and don't want to admit it. And then you got the independents who hate both parties. Then you got the anarchists. The list goes on, right? So I'm not getting into them. I'm going to skip them because you kind of have to just take independents as they come and deal with each one as an individual. You can't really group their politics with anything because independents are very, very diverse. So this upload, which is going to end my series on our political problems with our parties, this one's going to be about the media. And if you're going into the comment section doing whataboutisms or trying to make this about one side or trying to paint one side as worse than the other, take that shit somewhere else. I ain't going to even engage with it. I'm not getting into that. The media is a problem on both sides. No matter who you think is the bigger problem, I don't give a shit. Both sides are a problem. Now, on to the content of the upload. The thing I've noticed, number one, with media in the U.S. is how sensationalist it is. And the reason I say it's sensationalist is because they will take any headline, quote, or whatever. They will find, and I mean they will literally find a way to publish a headline with a quote with no context. They will report shit with no context whatsoever, and both sides do this. And when you report something like that to rile people up, it riles up, oh, this guy's a piece of shit, and things like that. That's what that causes. In fact, it was the media that got Trump elected. Okay, Trump did not have to pay for campaign funding. He did not have to pay for ads at all. Because honestly, the media did it for him. The media literally supported him with free campaign advertisements because, you know what? Every time he said something, the media would take a quote of his, either it be his full quote, or in many cases, actually most cases, it would be the left-wing media that did this. They would take some quote of his out of context, with no context around it either, make a headline about it, and do little clips and sound bites. Now, the Republicans, they do the same thing. They did it with Obama, and they did it with Biden. The difference was that Trump knew how to take advantage of that, unlike the people on the Democrat side. He legit took advantage of that. And that's part of what got Trump elected. He knew how to take advantage of that because he was a reality TV star and he was a celebrity. He knows how the media works. He knows any publicity is good publicity. He knows that. Now, here's where it's going to get a little deeper with this. I'm going to get into how the media reports police misconduct. Now, listen, I'm going to say this ahead of time. There are victims of police misconduct of every race, every gender, every nationality, every religion. I'm not getting into a racial thing with this, but race is going to probably be brought up by somebody in the comments. In fact, I'm going to have to bring race up because of how the media reports it. I would rather not get into a debate about race, though, because that is not the subject matter here. However, anytime somebody white is killed by police, except for one extreme case, which was Justine Damon, I don't remember how the media reported any of this, right? The media doesn't even report it. Oh, white person did this, right? When you get, but here's the thing, let it be somebody black or of any different race and they get killed by a white cop, it's gonna be national fucking headlines for the next 6 fucking months. They are not gonna put any context about what happened. All the headline is gonna say is black man killed by white cop. That's all it's gonna say. People are going to read that and they're going to lose their shit. They will not look into the context because they've already formed their view based on a headline. And the media absolutely takes advantage of that. That's why they do the headlines and sound bites and things like that. Because a lot of people won't look into the context. Those people who don't look at the context and those people who don't look at other things involved in the situation are the types that fall into the political cult trap. That's because the media itself is very, very partisan. And again, this is both sides of the media. It's both sides of the media, right? So we'll take example, anytime somebody black killed by police, right? That's how they report it. Now, Justine Damond, she was more heavily reported on by the right wing, right? But the reason that they reported on her so much was to try to basically counter the left's rhetoric regarding police misconduct. And they knew they could use that for headlines and be like, oh yeah, the left is loony. It's us versus them. The left is loony. This happens to white people too. That's why they did that with Justine Damond. It's obvious, right? Now, when you have media that is manipulative and partisan, and they're not lying. Technically, the media is not lying. Lying by omission is not a thing. You cannot lie unless you tell a demonstrably false statement. Which, in regards to police misconduct, there hasn't really been any of that since Hands Up, Don't Shoot. And that's because, well, in Hands Up, Don't Shoot, the media started on that narrative long before all the information came out. People bought it. People bought the shit, and that's how the Hands Up, Don't Shoot thing started. Now, when all the evidence came out, Michael Brown's hands were not up when he got shot. However, the media stopped saying his hands were up when he got shot. Now they just kept the Hands Up, Don't Shoot rhetoric in general instead of just claiming it happened to him like that. So that's the problem there. Also, our media is very, very partisan. Again, like I said, the right-wing media, which is mainly like Fox News, One America News, etc., Breitbart, right-wing news, they are openly supporters of the Republican Party. They are openly basically saying, yeah, we are Republican propaganda. The left-wing media, same thing. Yeah, we are Democrat propaganda. That's all the media is. The way people are acting about all this vaccine shit, and like the way people are getting treated for vaccines and shit like that, that's because of how the media has, especially the left-wing media, has reported this shit. I don't want to get vaccinated because, quite frankly, I don't trust these white motherfuckers at all. After Tuskegee and things like that, I don't trust experimental vaccines. Just real shit. But you can't, now, nobody on the left wants to discuss the black vaccination rate because that goes against the narrative.
I didn't forget yesterday, dude.
That's the thing. That goes against their narrative about people who are not vaccinated are white Republican Trump supporters and QAnon and things like that. They want to portray everybody unvaccinated as being that, when that is far from the case. Anyone who lives in the black community knows about how vaccines are seen within our community and how this vaccine is seen within our community. There's a lot of distrust for things like this vaccine due to things like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. Think about that for a minute. Why does the media not mention that, though? Why is the media not talking about that and portraying it? They're like, oh, this is the vaccination rate in this Republican state. Yeah, well, why don't you say here's the vaccination rate in this Democrat-ran African-American city? Because it goes against their narrative. The media pushes us versus them, and they paint it as Republicans this way so that people will go and vote Democrat. Just like the Republicans, they've been painting Democrats as tyrants, okay? And in some ways they are. In some ways they are. I do believe that vaccine mandates are absolutely tyrannical. And before anybody comes up, well, you were vaccinated for this and this in school. Okay, here's the difference. Even though I was a child, okay, that's the reason. I was a child at the time when those vaccinations happened. And I was vaccinated at the choice of my parent, not my own. If my parent chose for me to not be vaccinated, I could go to homeschool, okay? What the left is talking, so don't come to me with that, okay? I'm an adult now, I can make my own decisions on what I do, and I've had COVID. I don't need to get vaccinated. That's even per medical advice. But when I tell people, yeah, my doctor said that, now these Democrat people that I talk to and say that to, oh, your doctor's an idiot.
Wait.
Your doctor's an idiot. So my doctor's an idiot. Okay, well, that's your opinion. Guess what? His medical opinion said I don't need to get vaccinated because I've had COVID. I've had it twice. First time I had it, it was basically a head cold. The second time I had it, I was asymptomatic. Okay, so I'm not worried about it. They try to sell you on, oh, well, do it to protect other people. And that's another thing that the left-wing media has put out, is that anybody who isn't vaccinated is selfish. Okay, you know what? And they're saying, like, you owe it to other people, and they're pushing that narrative of get vaccinated to say, okay, listen, I don't owe anybody anything as it pertains to my body or what I put in my body. Nobody owes anybody shit as it pertains to that. The Republicans do not, okay, the Republicans are wrong, by the way, too, for their abortion shit in Texas. I don't agree with that either. I'm not a fan of abortion, but it's not anybody's business except the person getting it, and I don't like how their bill incentivizes snitching, right? Now, instead of the media being like, well, Republicans are doing this because because with Republicans, abortion is more of a religious issue than it is about controlling women's bodies, okay? Just gonna say it right now. I've discussed this with many, many, many Republicans. I've listened to things that Republicans are saying pertaining to abortion. Abortion to them is a religious issue, and it's about where they see life beginning versus where Democrats see life beginning. This is not an issue of trying to be sexists controlling women's bodies. However, the left-wing media paints it that way, and that's part of why people are saying that Republicans are sexist and other things. Now, yeah, there is absolutely some sexism within the Republican Party, don't get me wrong. There's also quite a bit within the Democrat Party. Now, another thing that's a problem with the media is how they report things, too, is the consistency at which they report it, more so. So check this. Why is it that every time a Republican is even implied to possibly have been accused of something, it's all over the fucking TV on left-wing media. The left-wing media plasters the fucking airwaves with it. But when somebody that is a Democrat does the same thing, the media doesn't have jack shit to say for, okay? When you look at Trump versus Biden, for example, right? So, how the fuck are they gonna sit here and say that Trump is a pedophile and whatnot? Which, I agree, Trump's a pretty sick bastard in terms of his sexual perversions. I would say that. That's my opinion, you know? But, I mean, however, I do believe that the left-wing media dials it up more than they should, and that they exaggerate it to an extent. But they do that with Trump. Why is it they have nothing at all to say about Biden? Okay, when Tara Reade was going on, the left was busy talking about everybody on the right. Okay, well, dude, you're sitting here talking about how Trump is this and Trump is that. What about Biden, who actually's got accusations from Tara Reade? What about these Democrats that have accusations you're not saying nothing about? And I say the same thing about Republicans. Just switch Democrat and Republican. Republicans do the same shit. They'll broadcast everything about a Democrat and nothing about a Republican. The media is very dishonest because of how it reports things. Not because it lies, but you can be dishonest without lying. You cannot lie without being dishonest. You follow me? And that's how the media operates, and they know that. They know that. When you look at how... Now, you've got to think, when you look at the rioting that happened pretty much all of last year, that burned down a city I live in, Okay, the media, especially the left, now the left was saying it was a peaceful protest and that it was right-wing antagonizers, right? They're saying that, and what they'll do is they will take, and they don't directly say it like that though. What they'll do is they'll be like, yeah, this person arrested here was an outside instigator. Sure. Now, how many of those motherfuckers besides him were not outside instigators? Because I personally watched the pharmacy and the grocery store where I live get looted, okay? I personally saw the liquor store get looted. I'm the one who had to live in that community for 2.5 months with buildings and shit boarded up. So don't tell me that this was caused by outside agitators when, dude, most of them were not. A lot of them were people I even recognized from BLM. Okay, real talk. But the reason they won't do that is because, see, the media backed itself into a corner when it comes to BLM. It's, like I said, the left-wing media has. Because they will use, they went all in behind BLM, and they cannot afford to paint BLM in a negative light, because BLM does help with getting Democrat votes. It does. So the media is there to help the Democrats. The left-wing media is. Just like the right-wing media is there to help Republicans. And I'm going to get it going before I start talking in circles too much. But yeah, that's a good idea what I think about the media. And this should cover the series. If something comes up that makes me want to make a new upload about this series, I will. But so far, that's the series. Peace.